Well, good afternoon. This is Jay Waters. I'm with the Americans in Wartime Museum. This is our Voices of Freedom project. I'm here with Mrs. Barbara Waters. Today's 21 June 2018, and we're here in Toms River, New Jersey. So if you would, Mrs. Waters, would you please give us your full name and when you were born and where you were born?
Okay, my full name at this time is Barbara J. Waters. I was born in Rumson, New Jersey, and I was named Barbara Ann Johnson.
Okay. Did you have any family members that went into the military?
My brother Tommy and Lester, two brothers. Tommy was in the 82nd Airborne.
Mm-hmm. And what about Lester?
No, I'm not sure.
But he was in the Army.
He was in the Army, yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Parents or grandparents? Or?
No.
Okay. And then just tell us a little bit about how you ended up with a career with the Army as a civilian.
Well, of course, my husband has had a career there, so I knew about it through some of my friends had. But I started out, after graduating from high school, I started out as a secretary because a local realtor and real estate insurance. They used to come and interview some of the girls who were in the secretary program. They like to hire people who could teach them their ways. So I was selected that year. So that's how I started my career.
So what kind of job did you have working for the Army?
For the Army, I was a procurement assistant.
And what did you do for that job?
Well, I would do a lot of typing, type up, send out things, requests for bids. No, it was called IFBs, invitation for bids. We were going to buy something. We would like to have different companies send in bids on it, how they would fill the order.
And where were you working at the time?
I would work in the CCOM building, which was connected with Fort Monmouth in Eatontown, New Jersey.
And how was that? How did you like going to work every day?
It was a lot of traffic.
Did you drive or carpool? How did you get to work every day?
Once in a while, my husband could drop me off.
And what year was this? Do you remember?
I think it was about
maybe in the 70s, would you say?
probably, yes.
Okay. Well, so let's go back a little bit. Can you remember when you were younger, December 7th, 1941?
Yes, I remembered it very well.
Okay, can you tell us about what you remember and what happened that day?
When I lived in Rumson, and my grandparents, my father's parents, lived in Seabright. We had gone my father had taken me down to visit my grandparents, and we were just sitting around in the living room in the afternoon, and came on the television, and I guess that Pearl Harbor had been bombed. I remember we were so shocked, and it just seems unbelievable.
And that was on TV, you said?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, what did you think?
I felt very scared.
And then, do you remember, did you have school the next day? Or?
Yes.
So you went to school the next day?
Yes, I did go to school next day.
Anything unusual at school that week?
Well, yes, one of the things that was very unusual, which they had us get used to, we were going to have drills. So just in case, God forbid, if ever plane came over Rumson, that we were instructed, so we would all go down to because I was up on the second floor then. I think I was in the 5th grade. And then we would go down the stairs, and we would go in there was a wide center hall. We would go in that. There were going to be a few teachers there to give you sort of tell you where to stand. We would line it up against the wall, facing the middle of the room.
Okay. And then, going forward, what about, do you remember from September 11th, 2001, where you were and when you heard about the news?
Yes, I do remember. I was upstairs getting dressed to go to work.
And what happened that day? Can you...
Well, I guess my daughter Nancy came up. I think it was Nancy. I think she came up and said a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center. And I thought, oh gee, I thought that seems kind of scary. I didn't think of anything. I just thought it was, somebody misjudged something. So anyhow, and then I guess, and now I'm not sure. Then there was it another one playing through?
Mm-hmm.
I think then a little bit later, she said another plane just crashed into the World Trade Center. And then I guess they started, then I went downstairs, and the children were watching this on TV, and they were trying to get people down the stairs, get them out of the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a tough day. It was
Yes.
a bad day. Looking back when you were working at Fort Monmouth, you mentioned to me about one of the programs that you worked on was the night vision goggles.
Yes,
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
yes. One of the things thought it was interesting was I was buying night vision. I was sending out an invitation for bids on night vision goggles because on my battalion we were going to put an order in for night vision goggles.
Anything else about that program that you remember?
I'm trying to think.
Remember you told me about when I used them?
Yes.
Can you just tell us that story?
Yes, and then I remember my son told me he had been doing some night exercises, and it made him and his fellow soldiers realize how good their night vision goggles was. Excuse me. So the next day I told my supervisor that what my son had said. It made me feel I was doing something good.
You sure were. No, it was good. Have you ever used night vision goggles?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, but it was good what you were doing. Anything else from your days at Fort Monmouth, or projects or special events or things that you did?
I can't remember anything special now.
Okay. I remember looking at your notes here, you did about 15 years of service to the federal government for the
Yes.
Army. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, tell us a little bit about your last couple days. I understand there was a ceremony for you, and the general came by to see you.
Well, yes, they were having what they called an early out. They were trying to cut back on expenses, so that they were trying to get people to retire, and so they would give you incentive. So
what happened?
So I decided I wanted to leave there anyhow. I guess I think about I was 63 or 65, whatever it was. I was really thinking of. I felt I wanted to retire. I thought I might as well do this now. Rather than wait a month, then this incentive would be gone, and I would get the extra money for do it now.
Sure.
So that's what I did, and then I went down. I went down to the personnel office on the first floor, and I told them I wanted. So they gave me the papers, and then I took the. And that's what you thought about the general was in there, and he spoke to me, and he said congratulations.
Yeah, and then they gave you an award, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you were in the newspaper, I think you said, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
They took a picture. They took a picture of the general talking to me. So I guess to show him there, talking to people who are getting their papers in order.
Okay. So going back when you were a younger girl in Rumson and Seabright, and you mentioned about the evacuation things at the school. Was there ever anything else, like with the rivers or the oceans, that you guys were ever worried about, with maybe submarines or enemy ships coming in?
Sometimes, yeah.
What do you remember from those days?
Well, I remember my one friend and I, we talked about if they ever came on this, and I guess we thought they would come in at night. If they ever came, we would run down to where the bridge. We would run across the bridge, and we help the men turn around. But I guess in those days it was the Russians. People thought were going to come.
And so what bridge would this have
It
been?
to see Bright from Rumson, we went the bridge we always went over to when we went to the beach.
But it was a manual
No,
type bridge.
yes, way back then, Then yes, and eventually they built the one you were used to, the cement just fixed span. It was high.
So did you ever have to turn this bridge? Did you ever have to do that?
No.
No. And who was your friend? What was her name?
Patsy.
What was her last name?
Doherty.
Patsy, and then became Patsy Kelly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so just tell us a little bit more about Patsy Kelly, or Doherty, and growing up in Seabright.
Okay, and then when I moved to Seabright, I was in my junior year of high school. So I didn't. So then I lived there until I married in 1961. In April 1961, I married.
But anything else from when you were younger, either Rumson or Seabright, or things that you and Patsy did?
I think.
No? Okay. What was high school like for you?
It was nice.
You know, this was Rumson High School?
Yes, yes.
Anything stand out about Rumson High School?
It was a very good school.
Good school.
Yes. We had nice sports. The girls, they had, excuse me, girls each year, freshmen, we played hockey. Girls had hockey teams after school, and we would play against other schools that had similar programs. One of the schools we would play against was Asbury Park and Red Bank. So, they made a team of freshmen. Then we'd play with the Red Bank freshmen, or another time we'd play Asbury Park. Sort of. Sometimes it was Rumson, and sometimes we would have the other school.
So you played on the field hockey team?
Yes, yes.
Did you play any other sports in high school?
Basketball.
How was that?
I liked that too.
And how were your grades in high school?
But they were very good.
Yeah.
I was in the top 10 of my class.
And how many people were in your class?
50-some.
Okay, I thought you were going to say like 11. Sorry. No. And then I think right after you graduated high school, you started working. Is that true?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I started the Monday after we graduated on a Thursday night. The following Monday I started working in the Hinnelman Real Estate Insurance Company in Rumson.
So just a couple days after graduation?
Yes, yes.
And you were still living with at home?
Yes.
Okay. So we heard from your husband earlier with his time in the Navy, and then 30 years or so with working for the Army.
Yes.
He was gone sometimes, right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
So how did you communicate back in those days when he was away?
Well, I guess we'd call me, And once I remember he called me on my birthday, and I think he was someplace like Japan. It was in the morning, and I was sort of getting ready to go to work.
Sure. Well, yeah, with the time differences, right?
Yes, yes.
So, hold on one second. You're doing great. So he called you a few times. I remember, didn't sometimes when he went on trips, he took you with him? Didn't you go a couple times?
Yes, once or twice, but I didn't go very often.
But anything stand out about that?
Well, once, I guess once that was when we went to Dallas, John.
Yeah, tell us about when you went to Dallas.
Oh, that was not a good trip, because I left my pocketbook on the bed when we went out to dinner, and then somebody broke into our room. They took my wallet. They took my money.
So that was not a good trip then?
No, that's what I said.
Were there any good trips?
Sure.
Tell us about a good one.
Let me say this. We Where else did we went? I guess one time we went to California, right?
That sounds right. How was California?
That one was, did we take the children with us then?
I don't think so.
Okay, I guess we didn't.
Wasn't there a trip to New York or Ohio or Niagara Falls that you took the kids?
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, we did I guess like up around Niagara Falls, something. Maybe Dad had to do business in Canada, because we stayed in. I can't think of the name of the town. That's right where the Niagara.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Niagara?
Well, there's Niagara, there's Buffalo.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I guess we stayed in Niagara.
Wasn't there a story too about the kids getting locked in the hotel room or something?
Oh, that was in Ohio.
Can you tell us about that? What happened?
Okay. We were in Ohio. It was a very good restaurant. I guess it was a very expensive. And my husband thought he and I should go there for dinner. It definitely was not, it wasn't, I think it was one of the top 5 restaurants in the country. It was not where you would take 3 children with you. So he thought we should go. And it was just a few blocks from the hotel. So we got the kids to bed. So then we went out, we told them.
And what happened?
We told them to lock the door and that we'd be back in a little while. So then we went to I guess we took a taxi to the restaurant. Do you remember the name of the restaurant, Joe? I can't remember the name.
Doesn't matter. So then what happened?
So we went, it was an excellent one. So when we came back, we went up to our room. So we were knocking on the door, and then Dad started banging on the door, and then Dad went out down the stairs and asked the lady at the desk if she'd keep ringing the phone in the room. She kept calling, but they didn't wake up. And then I was getting scared. I thought, oh my God, what if there had ever been fire open while we were gone, and they wouldn't have gotten out?
So what happened?
So then the man came up. I guess he took the door off. A man came up from their maintenance department. He had the tools, and he took the door off.
Wow. And what'd you find in the room?
And the 3 children were in there.
What were they doing?
And they may have been jumping on the beds.
But they were asleep at that point.
Yes, I think they were by then. They had been, I guess they got tired and then they fell asleep on the bed.
Well, that's good. Well, how'd you guys meet? How did you meet your husband?
Well, we actually met through a church group. We each joined the Catholic Young Adult Club in our area.
Was that where was that then?
So they used to have it. They used to meet in Fairhaven at the church in the downstairs in the church. So then my friend Patsy and I joined, and then John and his friend Donna Clancy went to. So then, anyhow, Patsy and I were going to take the bus, and then after we got off the bus, we had quite a long walk up to where the Nativity Church was. I would say it was probably about a half mile, and this was going to be at night, because the practices the meetings were at night. Then they decided to do a minstrel. Then we thought we'd try to be in the chorus for the minstrel. So then we would go for that practice. I guess we went, I would guess we went most weeknights, like probably 5 nights a week.
Oh, wow. And that's how you met your husband?
Yes.
What did you think of him when you first saw him?
Oh, I thought he was very nice. And then he would come, then he would come to pick us, Patsy and us up, and they would drive us home afterwards.
And that was down to Seabright then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And where was John living then?
He was, because he was living in Rumson with Don Francis.
Was living there, okay.
He was very good friends of him. That was closest friend we had to get to Fort Tom, was his family lived in Belford, over, part of Milltown.
Okay. Any other trips that stand out? Anything on any other trips? Well, then your son went into the Army, right?
Yes.
Did you ever do any trips to go see him?
I guess once we went to see him in Texas,
Yeah.
when he stationed at Fort Hood.
Yeah, and did you go to San Antonio?
Yes.
How was that? Do you remember that?
Yes, I liked San Antonio. I guess I visited my son, and then he took me down the river walk and in San Antonio. I loved that. That was so nice. I think that might have been New Year's Eve even.
I think so, yeah. Okay. Well, we're getting closer to the end of the questions, but was there
Okay.
anything else you wanted to include, or did we forget anything?
I don't think so. I think we probably got most of it all in.
Either your time with the Army or working in Little Silver, or what? And in fact, when did you start working after you had kids? What sent you back to the workforce?
I guess what set me back was it was getting time for to start to go to college. There was, of course, there was 3, because of all 3. Fortunately, our 3 children were all good students, so they were all college material. I don't believe everybody has to go to college. There's many people who are handy. They have other talents that they could be a workman, but my children seemed they should go to college, and I thought about it, and this is like buying a car, but you've got to you save money when you're going to buy a car. That's 1 year. This is what we're going to be doing this 12 years. We had 3 children.
And so your first job when you went back to work was with the town hall in Little Silver?
No, the Hillmans. That's the Hillmans. Oh, and when I went, yes, you're right. That's right.
So what was that? What did you do for the town hall?
I was the secretary,
Okay.
a receptionist and secretary.
Okay. Well, so the second to last question, Mom, is if there's just one thing you would like your grandchildren, and probably in the not too distant future, great grandchildren.
Not too distant.
Well,
Grandchildren.
Who knows?
I certainly don't know.
I don't know either, but just some point in the future you'll probably have great grandchildren. But what's the one thing that you would want them to know about you from your work or from your life? What would you want them to know and remember?
I just would be your best person, and follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
The golden rule. That's good. And then, is there anything else you wanted to include in this interview?
Just what I think. I'll probably think something later.
What was that expression that your brother always used to say, Uncle Tommy, about being tired?
Boy, am I tired.
And what was the story of that?
Well, because one time he was practicing, he's trying to practice, he had this, it probably about 7th grade. He had this, they all had different things to say. And his was about Captain James Lawrence stood on the deck of the ship and he said, "You know those famous years?" It was really, "Don't give up." And just as Tommy said that, he said, "You know those famous words, boy, am I tired."
I've heard that story. Yeah, that was Admiral Lawrence, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. We're just about done. Is there
Okay.
anything else you wanted to talk about or mention?
I think that's about it.
Okay, well, as we get to wrap up here, I'm going to present you on camera with this coin,
Thank you very
and we
much.
thank you for your
How very nice. Thank you so much.
service as a Department of the Army civilian. They definitely played a key part in sustaining in your case, in sustaining the Army, and every person's role is important, so
Yes.
it's been a pleasure capturing your story this
Thank you
afternoon.
very much.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.